Hello friends, we are almost halfway through April and I have not updated this vlog a single time, and I also have not posted my TBR for this vlog, which I was supposed to post like 2 weeks ago, or the catch-up readathon that I did. So hopefully by the time you're seeing this, both of those have gone up. But hi, my name is Mary if you're new here. This is going to be my vlog for the magical readathon, ORILIUM, Spring Equinox, whatever the title of that readathon actually is. It's a readathon hosted by G from Book Roast, and essentially you create a character, and then your character has all these special things that you create. So that's what my last vlog was. So I'm gonna go through those for you, but I'm also going to link you to the last vlog so you can see the books that I read for that and how I did that. But because I didn't cheat, but I did an abbreviated version of the readathon that she originally announced to create your character. So I wanted to let you know what I'm reading for this vlog, but I'm gonna go look all that up and then I will come back and do all of this. Okay, so my character's name is Fornax Glycia. I don't know why I came up with that. Fornax is some kind of Roman goddess of something. I looked it up and I can't remember what it is, but oh well. I am in the Order of the Crescent. That is my guild, and my calling for this semester is the Feywild Cartographer. I'm a novice. My background is urban. I am from Carador, and I am Elytrian or Iltyrian. I can't remember which one it is. My moon pick was the Blood Moon. I could not find any other information on that for what I was supposed to do for that, so I just picked something random kind of. But my conduit is a spell book, and my familiar is my dog Marvel. He just went outside, but I would show him to you. Otherwise, I just thought that would be the easiest thing to do for that. And for my Feywild Cartographer calling or whatever, the classes I have to take alchemy, animal studies, astronomy, demonology, elemental studies, inscription, and shapeshifting. So, so far, I have read my book for animal studies already, which was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. It's pretty short. I read it all yesterday morning, pretty much. I listened to an audiobook of it while I was getting ready. It's a 4-hour audiobook. I listen to my audiobooks on 2.5 times speed, depending on, sometimes 3 times speed, sometimes down to 2 times speed. Like the book I'm listening to right now, I'm on 2 times speed because it's harder, it depends on how fast the natural narrator speaks, basically, and how easy the language is to comprehend, the words used, if that makes sense. So that book is really good. It's a novella. It's the first, time that time travel was used as, and, time machines were used, the first instance of that. And it was written in 1895, which is way earlier than I thought it was for some reason. I don't know when I thought H.G. Wells wrote. I think I thought he was in the 20s and 30s. So I was very surprised at how early on it was. It was 100 years before I was born that book came out, which is crazy. So it was really good. It's about this guy who basically has this meeting with friends, and they all seem to be upper echelons of society, or they're each named as their career path. So you've got the narrator, and then there's one guy who's a psychologist, the time traveler, and then a few other I can't remember what the other people are called, but they're basically just it's a dinner party for gentlemen of society. And the time traveler at the first meeting introduces this idea that he has figured out how to time travel, and then at the next meeting he has already time traveled, and he's telling them the story of what happened. And so that's what the novella is. And instead of being in the past, I'm so sorry, it's the far, far future at the very end of humanity. And it's really, it was really interesting. It's not my favorite look at the future, but I do think it was an interesting look at the future, especially considering the technologies that we did not have at that time that we have now. Not that there's super similar things, but I don't know. I feel now it's a lot easier. Things that have come out more recently use a lot more robot type things, with certain types of inventions that have happened. But I don't know. It was very interesting. I really enjoyed that book. I think I gave it 4 stars. I had a good time reading it. I thought it was really good. There's that. I also tried to start reading my book for shapeshifting. The prompt for shapeshifting is to read a book with wolf in the title or on the cover. And I've been wanting to read this Marlon James series. The first book is Red Leopard, or Black Leopard, Red Wolf. It's an African-inspired fantasy. It's adult fantasy. I had previously only heard really good things about it. When I was looking at reviews when I was having a hard time reading it, spoiler alert, I DNF'd this book about 28% of the way into it. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't working for me. And there are a variety of reasons why, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I had originally only heard really good things about this book, and it's about this guy named Tracker and his job, basically. He's sort of been outcast from his village, and you get his backstory of why that has happened to him. And, or he's been rejected from his village and then also from his family, like extended family, if that makes sense. And again, it's based in African folklore and mythology. I don't know that much about that, so I don't know exactly what it was referencing, but you definitely get the like inspiration behind that. Like it's very, it reminds me of like the way the tribal situations were described. It reminds me a little bit of Things Fall Apart with certain aspects. Specifically, like, I don't know if this was all African tribes. Obviously, Africa is a huge continent. And I want to say this book was also in the Congo. I don't know if Things Fall Apart was in the Congo, but I feel like it was, but I could be very wrong about that. So do not quote me on that. But in Things Fall Apart, there's a big thing about twins being bad luck. And so if you have twins, one of them has to be sacrificed. That was featured in this book. Things like that. Obviously, if that was happening in real life, it would bother me, but it doesn't really bother me in a book. What bothered me about this book is there's a lot of explicit sexual content, but not in like a sexy way, but like it's not like smut that you're supposed to be like, ooh, yeah, I don't think. There's a lot of like graphic depictions of rape, which again, rape being mentioned does not bother me the way that I know it bothers a lot of other people. I can sort of handle that. I'm okay with handling that kind of thing. But it's just not enjoyable to read. And when it gets to a point where the characters that you're from the perspective of don't really seem to see anything wrong with that happening, I don't love that. There's also like abuse to children, which again, like, I was sort of expecting Tracker to be like a vigilante type character because I got so sidetracked. The premise of the book is that Tracker is going to find this missing boy. Like, that's the first thing that it says. He's like hired to find this missing boy, and he usually works alone, but he meets this guy named Leopard. Or maybe he's the leopard and he meets the wolf. I can't remember which one it is, but he meets whoever the other one is, and they have this like bond that they can't really explain. And I thought that sounded really, really interesting, but it just turned out to be a little too like sexually explicit at parts for no good reason, like not a reason that made me want to read it. Also, maybe I'm just like a prude, but I don't want to listen to constant descriptions of male genitalia or female genitalia, but really I don't want to listen to constant descriptions of male genitalia. It's not for me. I don't like it. This is the third or fourth book that I've DNF'd because it talked about the characters like genitalia too many times for me to really like be interested in that. Like, I can read smut. I cannot read about like some like gross dude masturbating. It's just not for me. I'm just not interested in it. Nothing. Like, every time I felt like I was moving past it and we were getting into the good parts of the story, it would just be a really long section that was just more stuff that I wanted to just skip. And I'm not wasting my time reading anymore. So I DNF'd that book. It was a really long audiobook, and I kind of had a late start to this readathon anyways. So I wasn't wanting to pick it up, and I knew that if I wasn't picking it up, then I wasn't going to read it. So I decided to just DNF that one and cut my losses. So I'm substituting Shiver by Maggie C. Fodder for that prompt. Which is the first book in the series called The Wolves of Mercy Falls, and it actually does have a wolf on the cover. I think it was Amy from A-Star Reads posted her TBR, and I watched it, and she is also reading this book. So, Amy, if you want to talk about it, hopefully I will read it. But yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do for that. But because I own that book too. I'm sorry, I keep going back and forth. I own that book as well, so it should be pretty easy for me to read. Right now, I'm reading Love at the Time of Cholera by Gabrielle Garcia Marquez. And this is a book. It's a classic, but like a modern classic. It was written in the 80s. It's set in the 30s in Colombia. And it's about this woman. Her last name is Daza. Fermina Daza, maybe? And her husband has died. Dr. Urbino, I think is his name. Juvenal Urbino, if I'm not mistaken. I'm listening to this as an audiobook too, so I'm not like seeing the names right now. I'm just trying to remember them. Is that harder for anyone else? It's harder for me. I don't know why. But it basically, her husband has died, and she runs into or like is reunited with her like first lover from when she was a teenager, whose name is Florentine something. Can't remember. Florentine, yeah, I don't remember. His name's Florentine something. Florentino, maybe? Florentino something? I don't know. But they haven't seen each other in like 50 plus years. And I think so we start with present day, if you will. And you like see her relationship with her husband towards the end of their lives. You see her husband die. You go back in time. And now we're seeing how she met this Florentino guy. And also we're catching them both up for what they were doing. Mostly Florentino, honestly, which is kind of boring. but we're just seeing what Florentino has done the last 50 years while he was waiting for this woman to, basically while he was waiting for her husband to die so they could be together. So I'm actually really enjoying this book. I really like the writing style. It's not hard. I thought it was a lot old. I thought it was written in the 30s, so I was expecting a much harder book to read, but it was written in the 80s, so the language is not difficult for me to read. It is translated from the Spanish, but I think that's fine. I'll let you know when I have more concrete thoughts. I'm only like 20% of the way into it right now, but I am enjoying it. I like the dynamics that are at play, and I like that the idea of the conversation that the synopsis kind of alludes to of like the choices that we make and how they change our life, and like if we would go back, would we choose something different, kind of. So anyways, this has been a really long update, but that's where I'm at right now. I will let you know when I have more updates, and hopefully I will actually post this video, but I guess we'll see. All right, go. You gotta move your head. There you go.
It's very important. I'm signing my life away.
It's better than the first one. What's up? Oh, it was
It's practice, yeah.
Practice makes
Look, that was smooth too.
Like this video of you two were trying to watch the Love is Blind live reunion. Marvel says this is ridiculous. Marvel, what do you think? Can you believe this? It's ridiculous. What do you think? Can you believe this? It's ridiculous. Hello, pardon my appearance. I just got home from working out, but I wanted to let you know that I finished today Love in the Time of Cholera, and I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. I finished it while I was at the gym. So it was not hard to follow. If that's a concern of yours, it was a concern of mine, because I always feel like with older books or books that have more like literary merit that I'm going to have a difficult time focusing on them, and that they're going to take a lot of brain power. I feel like it was a but it was a pretty easy to read book. It was pretty straightforward with the plot. The whole thing is that Fermina Daza ends up, when she's like 18, she has this brief romance, mostly through letters, with the main character, whose name I'm gonna forget, Florentino, I think is his name. And she ends up, her dad does not approve of this relationship, so he takes her away for a while. And when she comes back, she sees Florentino again and basically calls off their engagement. And then she marries a doctor, Dr. Rubino, I think is his name. And they have a like stable but not super happy marriage. They have a couple of kids. Like they live their whole lives for like 50, almost 51 years, or maybe just over 51 years. I can't remember. They say the exact amount, but it's like 51 years, 4 months and 9 days or something like that. I can't remember. But regardless, at the very beginning of the book, you learn that he dies trying to catch this parrot out of his window, and he falls to his death when he's like in his 80s. And Fermina Daza is 10 years younger than him, and she is a widow now. And then Florentino basically sees this as his opportunity to get back with her. But you also get like what happened in the interim in both of their lives during the 50 or so years that they were not together, which was entertaining at times. It definitely was meant to be entertaining, a little disturbing at times. The biggest thing is Florentino takes a bunch of lovers. This book has like some pretty racist things that happen. Like, he will take black lovers, but at the time that he is taking a lover, they're either slaves or servants. So like there's sort of iffy consent there. Also, his like lover right before he gets back with Fermina is a like 14-year-old girl, and he's in his 70s, which is very gross and like uncomfortable to read. But I can tell it was written in a way that was supposed to be like satirical and funny, if that makes sense. But it's off-putting now to read about. But it was written in the 80s, so maybe it was not as off-putting then. I'm not really sure. I think my sister had to read this for school, and I feel like that would be really uncomfortable because there is so much sex, like not necessarily explicitly, but like it's a very sexual book. Like, that's the whole premise. So anyways, all that to say, long story short, long story long, I guess, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Because, well, I did enjoy parts of it. I also felt like it was pretty boring, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know, like, it was enjoyable enough to read. Maybe it's like 3.5 stars, but I'm rounding it down to 3. How about that? I also wanted to let you know that I've started reading, which I think I have a B-roll clip of this, City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a big boy. I am like 150 pages in, 178 pages in. I think it's a 600-page book. So, oh no, it's only 530 pages, which is still a lot, but I'm doing okay with that, and that is pretty good. It's I want to say it's a YA fantasy, but it might not be YA. I think it is, but I don't know that for a fact. And it's about this girl who, her name is Nari, Nahri. Her name is Nari, and she is basically a con artist, and she has the ability, like the innate ability, to tell when someone is sick and to be able to heal them, but she uses her cons because people will come to her as like kind of a witch doctor when they think they're sick, and then if they're rich, she will like charge for the cure, and then she'll buy it from like a friend of hers, Jacob, I think, who owns a like apothecary. And so they have like this sort of deal going. And one day she's doing this ritual thing to try to like exorcise someone basically, and she accidentally calls a djinn because she finds out that she has like magical blood kind of, and then this djinn has to take her on a like quest to go to Daevabad, which is the land of the Deva, which is what the djinn are actually called, or what some of the djinn are called, I think. That's where I am right now, basically. I'm on the journey. So she is traveling with this Deva, learning more about it. There's also a second perspective from this guy Ali, who is a prince in Daevabad, and he is Prince. And he's like learning about the politics. So what's interesting about that, and what I like about that, is that through Nari not knowing anything about this world, you're learning a lot about the different players and who everybody is, and like the history and different things from the djinn that she is with's perspective, because his perspective is pretty different from Ali's perspective, and you also get Ali's perspective a little bit. So you learn more about how the history of the Daevabad works. You also learn sort of about the magic system, and you learn who everybody in the city is from his perspective. Because I think there's like 6 clans, maybe? Not clans, tribes within all of this. And you also learn about the Shafit, which is someone who is half human, half djinn. And that is what Nari is. So, yeah. She's like a really rare Shafit because I believe her djinn people don't exist anymore. Something like that. I don't think any of this is spoilers. All of this happens pretty quickly in the book. Another thing that happens really quickly, I think I said in my TBR for this that I suspected that there would be a romantic element, because there oftentimes is a romantic element. It's happened way faster than I thought it would. And based on who the second perspective is, I'm like 99% sure that this is going to turn into a love triangle between Ali, the djinn that she's traveling with. I can say his name, I guess. His name is Dara. You find that out pretty early on too, but he doesn't tell her his name at first. And then Nari. So I think that there is going to be a love triangle aspect there. And of course, Ali is like similar in age to her. And so everyone is talking about how he hasn't quite reached his first quarter century yet. And she's also like 18, I think. So they're both teenagers. And then Dara is like thousands of years old or hundreds of years old. So it's got that trope going for it. But I am really enjoying this book. I will say I find it a little confusing who all of the tribes are. I'm not very clear on who everybody is. There is a map at the beginning, which would be helpful to reference, I think. Where is it? And there's a list. So I should show you this. Hold on. These are, I guess there's only 5 tribes. And then we have the map showing on our world where they are. So you can see, like, we've got some people in what looks to be China over there, the Tukharistan. Agnavansha is in, like, India, etc. So that's helpful, if that's helpful. What am I talking about? So that's been helpful. The other thing that I started after I finished the audiobook for Love in the Time of Cholera is I started Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane, which is a mystery thriller. And this follows a woman named, God, I'm not going to remember her name, Lillian? That's probably, Layla? I don't remember her name. Lily, Layla, Lillian, something like that. But she finds videos. At the beginning of the book, she finds a phone that is like a burner phone that belongs to her husband in a place that she's usually not allowed to go. She was looking for like socks or something. I can't remember what she was looking for. And she finds a phone, and on the phone are videos of her husband doing something obscene to girls. He's a high school teacher, and I believe these are his high school students. We don't know exactly what was on the videos, but we're getting more clues as to what it was. Whatever it was very disturbing for her to see. Her husband walks in on her looking at that, and then it flashes forward 3 months or 6 months, something like that, and her husband is now missing, except for she killed him and hid his body somewhere, and his body is gone. So she hid his body somewhere where she thought people would find it and think that his death was an accident, I assume. And the body is gone, his car is gone, his cell phone is gone, like they can't find him. So we think he's still alive. So it's going to be like a game of cat and mouse kind of. I already have a theory. I am terrible about like trying to guess what happens in mystery thrillers. So I already kind of have a theory of where I think this is going, which I'm not going to say. But I do kind of have a theory. I'm enjoying it. I'm not like super hooked in the story, but we have learned some interesting things about the protagonist that are kind of intriguing me a little bit that we just found out. And I'm about a quarter of the way into that one. It's like a 9-hour audiobook, and I listen to my audiobooks on like 2 to 3 times speed, depending. I think this one I'm listening to on 2.5 times speed because the narrator talks not slow enough to be on 3 times speed, but not fast enough to be on 2 times speed. Anyways, I'm going to watch the Love is Blind reunion right now. It's Monday. It was supposed to go live on Sunday, and I sat there and refreshed for like an hour. And I could not get it to work for me. I was also on the Love is Blind Reddit trying to see if other people were able to get in, and it seemed like they were. I know that somebody said they streamed it on like Twitch, and somebody was streaming it on TikTok or something, but I just decided, you know what, I'll just wait. I'm gonna watch it today. I've been avoiding spoilers all day, so if you watch Love is Blind, let me know. But I am like obsessed with it for some reason. It's just, this season wasn't very good, I don't think, but I won't get into that because that's not what you're here for. But that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to watch some Love is Blind, and I will let you know when I have another reading update. Hello. Excuse my backpack. I've been bringing my backpack to work instead of a purse because I can carry like my gym stuff in it. Because I don't know if I mentioned this on here. My car got stolen with my gym bag in it, and my car was recovered, but they also stole my bike. They stole some stuff out of our garage. But my gym bag was not in it anymore, so I don't have a gym bag at the moment, so I'm using my backpack. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but that was like back in February, so here we are in April, and I still have not bought a gym bag. I just don't have time for it, frankly. But I wanted to let you guys know that I did finish yesterday Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane, and I'm kind of conflicted on how to rate this one. So I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I'm not like sold on that rating. I think I am going to keep it there, but like the ending I feel like was a 5-star for me. Like I was very impressed with the way things wrapped up, and also the implications that the ending had on the whole book. I thought that was very interesting, and I did not expect that aspect of it. I'm trying to be vague to avoid spoilers, but I did anticipate one of the like quote unquote twists. Like I think I said earlier when I just started it that I was pretty sure I already knew what had happened. I was right in what I thought was going on, but I also was wrong in what I thought was going on, if that makes sense. I hope it does. If you've read this book, I hope it makes sense to you. But I think I've already talked about what that's about, so I'm not going to go too far into it. However, I did think the pacing was kind of weird. Like throughout the book, I kept feeling like I felt like the thing that I knew had happened, I knew for so long that I was just like waiting for them to figure it out. And I feel like that space was a little too long, and I didn't buy any of the red herring stuff that was happening. I wish there had been something a little more interesting in like the second half, the second third maybe? I don't know, the third quarter, is that what I'm thinking? Up to the halfway mark, I was intrigued in what was going on. I was picking up the pieces and the clues, and there's a couple timelines in this because we keep going back to before the woman's husband was killed and after. And I was trying to figure out like the relevance of all that. I do think, I don't know, I just don't think that there was enough intrigue in that like middle bit to really like push this to a 5-star book for me, but I did really like it. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it. I'm gonna go with the 4 stars. And honestly, I feel like I would reread this book because the ending has such strong implications for the rest of the book that I would like to reread it and see if I can like pick up on it. You know, it's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie The Sixth Sense, if you watch it a second time, it's like kind of obvious what the twist is, but when you watch it the first time, at least for me, I did not have any idea what the twist was going to be. So anyways, that's that. I'm about to go to work. So I'm gonna leave here in a little bit. Oh, I started the audiobook of Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. That's what I was gonna say. So Shiver is the first book in the series, The Wolves of Mercy Falls. It's about this girl, Grace, who is a teenager. And when she was a little girl, she got taken into the woods by these wolves and like attacked by them. And then one wolf came and saved her. So now she has this like attachment to this wolf. And turns out it's like a wolf boy, shape-shifting werewolf type situation. We know that because you get the perspective of the wolf in his human form at various parts. I think it's going to be like a romance between her and this wolf. I don't know what the like grander plot is going to be or if there is a grander plot. So far it's very like early 2000s YA reading. Not in a bad way, just that's very much what it reads as, which is fine because I was a teenager at that point. Or I guess like late 2000s I was a teenager, but still like it's around when I was reading these books. Or books this age group, so it feels very nostalgic to me for that reason. And I've mentioned this before, I love Shapeshifter. I think werewolves and shapeshifters are very cool, way cooler than vampires. I never understood the vampire hype, but that's where I'm at right now. So I will let you know when I have more updates. I'm still reading City of Brass. I'm a little over halfway through now, but I don't have any more big updates besides what I've already told you. I will let you know my thoughts on that as they develop. Anyways, I'm gonna go, but I will update you when I have more updates. Hello. Ignore the fact that I'm like breaking out really bad right now. I don't know what has happened, but like I have this breakout all down my neck and all over my chin, and my wedding is in like 2 weeks. So I'm really hoping this clears up, but I'm in my bathroom. Let me move into a better lighting situation maybe. Updates. I finished Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. And Stiefvater, I don't know how her name is pronounced, but it's the first book in the Wolves of Mercy Falls series. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. It was really cute. It definitely has a lot of that like fake deep cringy stuff that like as a teenager I really enjoyed, but as an adult I find like kind of insufferable. But I think because this book was written, I checked, it came out in 2009, so it was written around the time that I was reading books like this. So it has a lot of nostalgia for me for that reason. And I did really enjoy my time reading it. So like I said, 4 stars. I will definitely continue in the series and I will let you know how that goes for me. So this was kind of an impulse purchase from Goodwill a few years ago, and I'm glad I got it. The only other thing I want to say is I listened to the audiobook of this, and the narrator for Sam, who is the werewolf, sounded way older than the narrator for Grace, who is the human girl. And that was really odd for me. I got used to it, but it was very jarring at first to listen to his parts of the book because it's an adult man. And then I don't know who narrates for Grace, but she does a good job of sounding like a teenage girl. And the guy who narrated for Sam did not sound like a teenage boy at all. The other gripes, again, are all just things that were very classically mid-2000s, or I guess late 2000s. Like, Sam is really into poetry, and Grace isn't into poetry, so she tells him she's not into poetry, and he basically tells her that she's dumb for not liking poetry, and that, like, he'll teach her how poetry is supposed to be read, and, like, if he'll figure out how to, like, tell her how to like poetry, which, like, I don't like poetry. I don't think it makes you smarter to like poetry. Just a little pretentious, but, you know, I think, again, I would have ate that up when I was, you know, a teenager. Parts of this book read kind of young, which is odd because other parts, like, things happen that would happen to teenagers, but, like, parts of this book just I didn't, like, feel like the characters were teenagers. Like, I felt like they were almost written too young. But that's sort of my end of review of Shiver. I did enjoy it. I think if you are similar in age to me, like, late 20s, early 30s, I think you probably, honestly, even mid-20s, you probably were reading books like this when you were the appropriate age for these books, and therefore you might enjoy reading them now. For if you like a little bit of nostalgia, a little kick. I have since started the audiobook of Lord of the Flies by William Golding, which is one of those books that a lot of people read for school and I never had to read. So I'm reading it now. I'm at the very beginning, and the audiobook that I got of this one is narrated by the author, so that's cool. I always like when that happens. And he sort of did a little forward. I don't know if it was off the cuff or if he wrote something for it or what, but he basically said that like people have asked him over time why he made it boys. And his answer was kind of shitty, I thought. So at first he was like, I've never been a girl, so I wrote it about boys. But then he also said that like he felt like girls you couldn't pare down into like the facets of society, but you could do that with boys, which I just feel like is a non-answer. I don't have a problem with it only being boys. Yet, I guess I'll read it and find out. He also said the other reason was that he didn't want it to become about sex, which I thought was very interesting and actually makes sense. Like, he didn't want that to be a factor. Obviously, that discounts that there could have been, like, gay and bi people exist, so, like, that could have been part of it, but he wrote this in the 50s, so he definitely was not writing that. Anyways, I'm enjoying it so far, tentatively. I know the basic premise of this book, but it's a group of boys who were on an airplane or something, and their airplane crashed on an island, and there's no adults, so they're having to make their own society. And it's sort of about like the pitfalls that they come with. And so far, all I can really tell you is that the main character, I think, is named Ralph. And there's another character who we don't know his name, but he confides to Ralph at the very beginning that at his old school, kids made fun of him and called him Piggy, and he doesn't want that to happen here. And Ralph immediately tells everybody his name is Piggy, so he's going to be called Piggy. He's overweight. So that's what I know so far. I'm very interested to see how this goes because, like I said, I know people have read this book for school and like it's been assigned. And I managed the basketball team when I was in high school. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but part of what I did when there wasn't a lot for me to do during that class period is I would grade papers. The coach was also an English teacher, so I would like grade tests and quizzes. And I remember grading things when she was, I don't remember the answers, but I remember when she was teaching Lord of the Flies, grading different like essays and things. I don't know why I graded them if I hadn't read the book. I really don't. It might have been like short answer things. And she had like an answer key, so if it like covered the same things, I think that's probably what it was. But anyways, yeah, so that's my update. I'll let you know if I have another one soon. We are going to trivia tonight at a brewery near us, so I'm very excited to do that. And I will talk to you as soon as I talk to you. Hello. So it's Wednesday. I'm about to have to go to a hearing here in a second, which is why I'm in my suit. But I stopped home to eat lunch and stuff, and I finished City of Brass during that time. So I have some thoughts. I'm a little confused, but I feel like there's enough excitement happening to keep me interested in the story. Towards the end, there's a lot of action sequences that happen kind of all at once. That's never my favorite thing to read. I just don't find it as entertaining as I know a lot of other people do. I don't know what it is about it, but it just was a lot going on. Also, the kickstart to all of the action, I don't really understand why it happened that way. I reread it twice, and I didn't really, there's a certain thing that happens, and I didn't understand why. Like, what? I still don't really understand why. But it is pretty good. I think I'm probably going to end up giving it 4 stars. Again, it's not an all-time favorite. Also, let me know if other people are like this. When I know a book is part of a series, I'm much more hesitant to give the first one 5 stars, unless it like really blows me out of the water. Because I feel like a lot of times with series, I'm waiting for something else, and it doesn't feel fully complete on its own, which it shouldn't because it's part of a series. So this feels that way to me. I am excited to keep reading. I think the second book is Kingdom of Copper, and the third is Empire of Gold. I don't own those books, but maybe I'll try to find them at Half Price Books or something. Or maybe I'll just get them from the library. Who knows? I probably will buy them though, because I do think this is a series that I could see myself coming back to again, or just like giving to someone else because it is pretty good. So I have 1 book left for this challenge, and that is to read Over the Woodward Wall. Did I say that I finished Lord of the Flies? I hope I did. If not, I finished Lord of the Flies as well. Lord of the Flies, it was pretty much exactly what I figured at my last update. 3 stars. I'm glad I read it, but I felt like there was nothing really to write home about. I did think the ending was very haunting. And I don't think that it's what I expected to happen. It's not what I expected to happen. I expected something different to happen. But I don't know. I did like it. I don't think I would ever read it again, but I am glad that I read it because now I feel like that's a book that so many people have read. So now I feel like I too have read it and can sort of join in on conversations about it. But that being said, I have to read Over the Woodward Wall. Matt is out of town. His grandmother passed away sadly, so he is in Connecticut at a family funeral. But I'm probably going to try to read Over the Woodward Wall tonight because then I get him tomorrow from the airport and I can be done with this reading vlog and put it up and like edit it and get it ready to go. So that's very exciting. I'm really proud of myself for the amount of progress that I've made in all of these books and that I'm almost done with this readathon. It's been super fun. And honestly, I filmed my TBR earlier today, so my makeup is the same. But I'm excited that like I am getting back into reading because I feel like I was slumping so hard, and I feel like this readathon and readathons in general, like picking a TBR really does help me to read because I know what I'm reading next. It takes the decision making out of it, or at least eases the decision making process, which is funny because sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, I can't just read these things that I've decided I'm going to read. I'm not in the mood for them. So it's been fun. I'm going to keep doing it until it stops working for me again, and then I'll mood read for a while, and then I'll come back to TBRs, I think. But yeah, that is my update. And I will let you know once I have started Over the Woodward Wall or once I finish it and how that goes. So, yeah. Why are you frowning? Hey, what's wrong, silly? Look at this frown. Look at him, he said, pout. What's wrong? You pouting? Are you pouting, or is it just the angle? Oh, it might just be the angle, baby. Oh, sweet boy. Over here we got another sweet boy. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Big sigh. Big sigh for a big baby. What are you doing over there? What are you doing? You want belly rubs? Oh my goodness. Okay. Hello. I don't really have an update. I just want to let you know that I did start Over the Woodward Wall. It is the next day from yesterday's clips, which is Thursday. I'm about to sign into a Teams meeting for a case that I'm on, and I just want to let you know that I started it and also what it's about. So it's about these two kids. Zib is the girl who's really into math, and Avery is the boy who's seems to be, he won a spelling bee, so it appears that he's the language one. If you don't know, Over the Woodward Wall is the like novella companion to Middle Game. I almost called it Middlesex, which is a Eugenides book, which is different. But it's the companion to Middle Game by Sean McGuire, and it's like the interspersed stories. So I think it's like not allegorically, it's like the same kind of vibe. But so far, these two kids live on the same street. They've never met before because they're in different school districts, because the school is like, the districts mark off at a house in between theirs. And so one goes to one school, one goes the other way. And then one day while they're walking to school, neither of them can go the way that they normally go. And so they both decide, instead of going the way they normally go, to go down this other side street. And then a wall pops out of nowhere and they climb the wall. And when they climb the wall, they can't get back over. And so it's going to be their adventure that they go on here. I don't know for sure how far along or what the rest of the plot is. That's just what's happened so far. I'm about 35 pages in. I think it's less than 200 pages. But I will let you know as I progress in that. Hello friends, I'm here to close out this vlog. I am officially finished with my first semester of ORILIUM for the spring equinox, and I finished all my courses for to become a Feywild cartographer. And the last course that I had to finish was for inscription, and I read Over the Woodward Wall to complete that prompt. My hair is sticking up on the sides. That is so embarrassing. But I'm finished with my courses. So let me know in the comments down below how successful your semester was, if it was successful or if it was not. And now I'm just gonna quickly recap the books that I read for this vlog. Oh, I guess I should tell you how I felt about this. That is the point of a reading vlog, not just to tell you that I finished something, but also to give you reviews. So this is really cute. It's under 200 pages. I will say, I did not realize going into this that it was part of a series, but there are 4 books so far that are out in this little novella series. And it's definitely not wrapped up in book 1 at all. So I do need to read the other books in the series now. I'm very excited to keep going in this, but I think I've talked about this. This follows Hepzibah, or Zib, who is a little girl, and it follows Avery, who's a little boy, and they live on the same street. They're a couple houses down from each other, and one day they have to walk a different way than they normally would walk to school. They both go to different schools, but on this particular day, they end up walking in the same direction. They find a wall. They climb the wall, and then they get stuck in this place called the Up and Under, which is like a fantasy world, and they start out in the realm of the King of Coins, I believe, and they have to make their way to the not Queen of Swords. What is it? It's the other one is the King of Cups. The Queen of Swords is one of the other people they go through. Gosh, what is her name? The Queen of Wands, I think. And so they have to go through that. And I think that's also like the tarot suits are cups, coins, wands, and swords. But I could be wrong about that. But yeah, so it was really fun. It was a really cute book. I really, really liked. There's this one character called the Crow Girl, who is a girl who can turn into a murder of crows. And I thought that was very cool. I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. And I will definitely be continuing on in this. And it also made me excited to read more from the Middle Game series. I think Seasonal Figures is out, and I don't know what else is coming out. Sorry about that. I came upstairs because Matt is doing chores downstairs, and he has his headphones on, so he can't hear me saying that I'm filming, but he's like singing to himself, so I'm up here now. Anyways, sorry if you can hear the laundry going in the background. We do laundries on Sundays, and it's about 8:20 on Sunday, April 30th, so I finished this vlog just in time. But I wanted to run through everything that I read as a part of this readathon. So I read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells to cover animal studies. I read Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez to cover astronomy. I read Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane to cover demonology. I read Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater to cover shapeshifting, and I also DNF'd Red Leopard, Black Leopard, Red Wolf, I think, by Marlon James, which I ended up not liking, so I DNF'd that, and that's what I read Shiver instead for shapeshifting. I read Lord of the Flies by William Golding for elemental studies. I read The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty for alchemy, and I read Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker for inscription. And those are the things that I read as a part of this readathon. So again, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, how you felt about them. Also, let me know what you read for this readathon, how successful your reading month was, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!